two people you should never fight with: your market and your wife.
So what was the exact trigger when you wanted to do trading full time? I think you mentioned that at one point of time you had to even borrow 50,000 rupees from your father.
I was excited, life was sorted, and this is what I thought. However, things didn't, as we all know, don't go as planned. The growth happened, but not what I wanted.
People treat it as gambling, right? They fail so many times, but they still don't give up and they keep on wasting more and more money.
With the help of the competent coaches available and technology available, people can shorten this learning curve and become much smarter to make smarter decisions, smarter trades, and make much more money than it had ever been available in the market.
Yeah, what are rule number 1, 2, and 3 that you want to tell to our audience on trading options? Welcome again to the Unicorn Coach Talk Show. Today we have our special guest Rituraaj, who is not just a great trader, but he's great at understanding psychology, logic, and strategy part of the wealth creation process. And today we're going to discuss in detail of how to connect all these dots together so that we can make magic happen in our bank accounts. So welcome to the show, Rituraaj.
Thank you so much, Gopal.
So how did you get started? I know that you are in a very well-paying job with a very high salary and all these things. So what made you to quit? And how did you start this journey?
Well, see, I come from a very humble background. My dad was a government servant, and we moved from one state to another depending upon how my dad would be transferred from one place to another, being in a government job. So we have seen Rajasthan, we've seen Punjab, we've seen New Delhi, and we also spent some time in Uttar Pradesh. The whole idea was that in these 3-4 states, I got exposed to a lot of cultures, and my education, obviously, moving from one school to another, one college to another, I realized that, we have to really work hard to make the ends meet. I used to see my dad, very qualified man, very hardworking man, but, he has to move and his family has to move along with him as he has to take care of the new responsibility. And my career after my MBA from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi, it started around in the 1990, and I moved to Delhi in 1987. And I realized that while I got my first job, I was excited, life was sorted, and this is what I thought. However, things didn't, as we all know, don't go as planned. So, the growth happened, but not what I wanted. And all this while, when I was a child, I used to see my dad invest in securities. He would have a portfolio. I would hear the words, Reliance, L&T, etc., etc. And I used to get fascinated by some of these things. Those days were the days of manual stock exchanges. I remember I went to Daryaganj, the New Delhi Stock Exchange in Daryaganj, and I saw the traders, talking and placing bets, with their gestures in the air. And I was wondering, wow, that sounds interesting. But it sounded too much of a commotion. Slowly and steadily, I saw this, the ways people trade changed. The technology got into it. This got computerized, and a lot of things were accessible to the normal people. And, this just kept happening in the background while I was getting into my job. My trading journey started almost 25 years back, because I realized that you can always create an additional source of income in addition to the regular job income. This has always been a thought in my mind. But when COVID happened, we were all shocked. 2019-20, so many people lost their jobs. They were living an amazing lifestyle, for example. But now they had an EMI to pay. They had an EMI to pay for their beautiful homes. They had an EMI to pay for their cars, the fees to be paid for their kids, etc., etc., and a lifestyle to maintain. That came in as a big realization to me that, my goodness, if there are layoffs like this because of some event which is not in anybody's control, then how am I going to be prepared for handling this situation? See, you always have a stepney in a car, right? Car, scooter, whatever. So it's not that you use it every time, but you use it in emergencies. What is a stepney in a career? What if there is a disruption in the career, not because of my fault, but because of the global macroeconomic parameters? Now that thought of me getting fascinated into the world of stock markets completely changed into something very serious as far as my own approach was concerned. And in 2019, while I had been trading for more than 20 years at that time or so, I took things seriously. And that is how it happened. So I've been through all these states, as I said, along with my dad, and I've done a lot of professional courses, being an MBA as well. But what mattered to me was, what is my backup plan? Warren Buffett says that if you're only dependent upon one source of income, whether it is job, your business, or whatever, you're in for trouble. Because if that source for some reason doesn't work out, you are in trouble. You need money. Money is an energy. You need money to survive, not just thrive.
So what did you do? What is your strategy for you to actually make your first trade work? And what was the secret behind your first success?
Well, just like everybody else, it started with the fact that, I thought trading is easy and it's very easy money to be made. Lo and behold, it didn't work that way. I tried doing something. I started buying securities and, stocks, and some went up, some went down. Net, my portfolio didn't move much. In fact, it was in negative. And I was wondering, where am I going wrong? See, initially, when people get into any kind of a stock market activity, they think everything is easy. Everything looks very rosy. But the challenge is anything that you do worthwhile requires some bit of training and understanding. Obviously, I lacked that. And the resources were not available at that time. YouTube wasn't there. People coaching, training, mentoring were not there. So it was more of a hit and trial. So I had seen my dad take decisions based on his own understanding of balance sheets and all those ratios, etc., etc. I didn't have much idea about that. I thought there should be a smarter way of doing it. And that is when I got a little more serious, and after facing the initial losses, and I realized this needs to be learned. Because, you do a BTech, it takes 4 years learning. Is the job guaranteed? No. But if one does fairly well and puts enough understanding into the whole thing, then it is easy to get a job. Same thing with MBA, 2 years. BBA, 3 years. You want to be a doctor, it takes many, many more years. So the whole idea is that it requires investment in learning. That is what I started. Kind of the pieces fell together around 2019-20 when I really got serious about learning. So one is learning. Yeah, I'm learning from here, I'm learning from there, I'm attending this seminar, that workshop or whatever. That really didn't cut the ice. What mattered to me was when I got serious. It's like a plane on a runway. It's decided to move. The pilot has, made it run. So from point A to B, it's in the motion. It is only when the critical velocity is achieved does the pilot decide to pull the lever, and that is when you take off. So all these years, I would say that it acted as my momentum on the runway. And this runway, the length and the time is different for everyone. So for my case, I invested and wasted, whatever you call it, good 20 years. Actually, I should not be calling it wasted, but it was invested. But I think today, with the help of the competent coaches available and technology available, people can shorten this learning curve and become much smarter to make smarter decisions, smarter trades, and make much more money than it had ever been available in the market.
You had a very stable job and you had an MBA degree. What made you to quit all those things and start trading as a career?
Good question. So if I could invest just 15 minutes in a day and create my income, which is more than my last drawn salary, that is what made me think and, practice and do some things which are totally different than what people do. People trade their time for money. I use my money to create more money and thereby release more time for me and my family.
Wow. So was it always like this?
Not really. I come from a family where my dad was a government servant. So we had seen him, work very hard, trade the time for money. When I started my own job, everything looked sorted and everything looked very good. But then I realized once again, I'm trading time for money. And there is only as much as you can achieve. At the end of the year, when you see your annual appraisal and the performance reviews and increments, I think almost everybody gets disappointed. I was no different.
So what was the exact trigger when you wanted to do trading full time? What was the exact trigger? I think you mentioned that at one point of time you had to even borrow 50,000 rupees from your father. What was that?
Well, I was trying my own traditional business. It didn't work out as planned. There are factors which are beyond capabilities. It's to do with macroeconomic factors. I remember the Commonwealth Games were on at that time and we were in a basement and the basements were sealed or they were, to be sealed. So there was a panic. It didn't work out. And, I was dependent upon the money coming in. It didn't happen. I realized that I have no money. I had to borrow 50,000 rupees from my dad. And that really hit me. That being so educated and on MBA from one of the best institutions in the country, and I'm still struggling for money. So I thought, let me create another source of income that is not dependent upon these factors. And this could be internet based, it could be based on laptop, and it could be portable business. Anything that I do portable. So wherever I go, I can carry that with me. So today, if I'm sitting in A city or B city, doesn't matter. I can continue peacefully trading.
What was that you began your trading business from? What was the first things you tried, and what were the things that got stuck? How many times you failed before you became a full-time trader?
Well, I got introduced to trading almost 25 years back. Initially, it started with investing in securities, equities. I would, invest in, stocks like, Reliance, L&T, etc., etc. But I realized that it doesn't really grow the portfolio or create income as fast as we would like. It requires you to wait for a few years for that ROI to show up, right? So then I started trying futures, derivatives, index derivatives, so Nifty, Bank Nifty, futures, etc., etc. Well, some things worked, some things didn't. So sometimes it would work, sometimes it would not. And then I got into options buying. Now, options buying is a very specialized thing, but it is simple and learnable. The challenge is people, when they get into this, they want to do it their way, but there's a system to be followed.
So what was that aha moment for you with options trading, right? What was that aha moment? You tried all these things. What made you to finally stick to options trading? What was that aha moment?
Well, I think when I'd traded in options buying for some time, there was one particular day when I made a trade and got 40% ROI on a single trade. That got me thinking, man, this is unusual. Normally, what kind of an ROI people are used to, even in whether it is a simple state savings account or even in mutual funds or even in equities. But this was way out. I could take one trade and within a matter of an hour, I'd clocked 40% ROI.
Wow.
That was a moment where I thought, oh my God, this, if can be done properly, this can be really remarkable.
How many times that moment has repeated in your career so far?
Initially, not much, but these days, almost regularly.
Wow. How is it to wake up every single day or every single week or every single month to 40%, 50% returns? What is the feeling right now?
Well, to be very honest, I practice 100% ROI these days on single trade.
Wow.
I call it a high potential trade, high probability trade. I call it now a high probability trade or the golden trade.
Wow.
So you don't have to trade every day. There are opportunities that we come across once, twice, or 3 or 4 times in a month, where one single day can double your invested capital.
Wow.
So I'm at least looking at 50% ROI in every trade, if not ideally 100% plus.
Yeah. Tell us more about this golden trade method of yours. So what kind of a mindset, discipline, focus, concentration should a new trader have to actually focus on that one golden trade? Because I think that it is not for everyone, right? And you have this brain theory as well, right? Left brain versus right brain. Tell us more about that. Yeah.
Well, traders actually trade from their heart, which is incorrect because it doesn't work. It's a science, it's a mathematics. So we have to trade with brain, and that too specifically from the left side of the brain, which is analytical, mathematical, logical. So when you think and apply those things as per mathematics, and there's simple rules that I've discovered over the years. If you just go with the rules and enter the trade only when those rules become tick, tick, tick on the checklist, and then you enter the trade, the chances of your success are far higher. And this is what I also coach people on, how to take the appropriate or a high probability trade, HPT as I call it.
Wow.
And those set of rules, I call them as Holy Grail TCR. Holy Grail is like, something that doesn't exist, people think so. So Holy Grail, trend change rules.
Wow.
Whenever, market goes up in cycles, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. So whenever it's changing the trend from up to down or down to up, we know it in advance using those rules.
Wow.
Can you believe it? The day the market crashes or just fires up, people rush to television sets to find out what went wrong or what went right. They're looking for the news. Guess what? We are prepared a day earlier and we are enjoying the benefits by that time.
Amazing. So people are very emotional, right? For example, I'm operating from my heart fully. But if I am going into trading, So what kind of mindset I should have, what kind of routines I should have, so that I'm not falling for these emotions, because as a human being, we tend to fall for emotions, right?
Very good question. See, I call this something called as a monk mode mindset. Monk mode, it's like a sadhu. You will not be too excited about your profits and you're not too depressed about your losses if you know exactly how much to invest in one trade. Thereby, you know what is it that you are investing. That reminds me of Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala's statement. He says, broadly, you should be clear about number one, the direction of the market or the stock. Number two, how much to stake. And number three, when to accept the loss. Just these three simple rules I followed and created a system out of it.
Wow.
People follow emotions. No, it doesn't work with emotions. It has to be exactly as per the rules. Focus on entering and exiting exactly as per the rules. The ROI can surprise many.
Wow. When you say monk mode, I just wanted to ask you, what is your daily routine to maintain that monk mode? We have our family issues, we have our issues with the children, we have issues with the relationships, etc., etc. How do you manage all these things and still maintain that monk mode?
Well, see, we all go through those ups and downs and emotional highs and lows. So something that I always tell people is that you enter into a trade when you are peaceful. If you have a disturbed mindset, now this disturbed could be because probably you didn't sleep well, or you had a headache, or you had a tiff with your neighbor, your family member, your office colleague, whatever. Do not enter on that day. Do not enter a trade on that day, because that will disturb your analytical thought process. So this is what I tell people, that there are certain rules on creating a stable mindset. And to create the stable mindset, one is, I practice things like deep breathing, my own religious methods of keeping myself calm and composed, and having a nature that is positive and enthusiastic.
Wow. And still, people treat it as gambling, right? It is like playing a game where they're trying to catch that toy in that cage. And if they don't get that toy, right, they try again and again, again and again. And they fail so many times, but they still don't give up and they keep on wasting more and more money. What is that exact phenomenon that happens when people go after winning so much, they don't worry about the money that is getting lost? What do you think triggers this?
It's something like being hypnotized. So when they lose in one trade, they want to go and make the second trade with a bigger amount, hoping that they would recover whatever they have lost and make some more money, thereby losing more money.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious cycle that goes on repeating. This is what is called FOMO, fear of missing out, or FOLO, fear of losing out. So this phenomena is triggered out of greed and desperation. So they take revenge trades. How did I lose this trade? I should not have lost. What I tell people is, keep your ego out and flush it in the toilet. Two people you should never fight with: your market and your wife.
Wow.
You are by default starting on the losing wicket. So this is what I just follow. Don't argue with the market. Just accept it. And if it has gone against you, just accept the loss as per the rules defined and move out on that day. Just don't trade any further.
Wow, that's amazing. Can you tell us about some of the stories where people were so right-brained, so emotional, and they were coached by you and they became left-brained? And what was the process?
Good question. So that is the reason why coaching is important, because coaching. So, for example, Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma, MS Dhoni, Sachin Tendulkar. I'm just giving random examples of people who are public figures. They all had coaches. And that's the reason. It's not that they don't know how to hold a bat or how to hit a six, but coach has another pair of eyes that sees you from outside you. So that small change in your trading way that a coach can suggest can make a huge change in the outcomes. Coming back to the case. Now, see, point is, I have a system where we start with a very small deployed capital, which means we start trading with one lot. I did that. 2019, when COVID struck and I was desperate to learn this, I started trading with just one lot.
One lot for 6 months.
One lot for 6 months.
Wow.
I consistently practice it because, you see, I may not be making a huge money, but I was also not losing huge. That reminds me of Rahul Dravid saying that, let me stick onto the wicket first. Why was he called Wall? Because it decided to stick on the wicket, and it was almost impossible for the opposing bowlers to bowl him out. But once you are very confident about your wicket, then you can start swinging your bat and make runs. So that is the psychology behind the whole thing. There are many people who have turned around, and that comes from accountability. I have systems in place where accountability is established between me as a coach and my participant as a coachee.
Mm-hmm.
So those systems, if we follow, they are expected to document their traits and not cheat.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sincere about this, that they will not cheat, and they also have to be sincere about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then we go step by step and increase this. Let me ask you this, say this thing. Assuming we want to learn swimming, we don't directly from the highest springboard into the deepest portion of the swimming pool. We decide to get our feet wet first. We get into the shallow side of the swimming pool. The whole idea is that we do not want to take unnecessary risk.
Wow.
What if you bought a brand new BMW?
Mm.
You would not start learning how to drive a BMW by taking your own car out.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's only logical. But in training, people don't understand this. They come up with massive amount of money, and they put that money in stake on a single trade, and thereby losing money. People have come to me after losing 3 crore rupees.
Wow.
In single trade in one day.
Mm.
And that's mind-blowing. And now I make them trade with one lot for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily 6 months. It depends upon person to person. So it can be few months to 6 months or more. But generally, people scale up 3 to 6 months onwards.
Okay. After 3 to 6 months, how many lots you allow them to add? Okay, or how strict are you with all those things?
Well, I prefer that they stick to one lot, not for 6 months, at least 3 months.
Mm.
The win percentage has to be 80%.
Mm.
75 to 80% is the win rate. So whole idea is to first understand and practice your helicopter shot.
Mm.
And then get out to the field. Need to spend a lot of time in the nets to keep practicing. Every good player worth his name spends a lot of time in the nets before he hits the pitch.
Wow. So now how many lots you are adding to your portfolio, right? I think I know that the first 6 months are very hard for you because you want to put a test on yourself. But now how many lots you are adding to your equation?
I take it easy. I've traded enough with one lot, and I've practiced my own efficiency enough that I know out of 10, 8 trades are likely to go in my favor.
Wow.
So even if 2 do not, and I got a strict stop loss rule, then the loss will not be much. And in fact, in one trade, we more than take care of that.
Wow. Amazing.
So it's any number of lots. Doesn't matter. The idea is when you know how to drive a bike, it doesn't matter which brand. And
Exactly.
with how much speed you want to take it at.
You're calling your program as Options Incubator. So you are calling them as business owners. People see option trading as a hobby, but you are saying it should be approached as a business, right? What is the difference between approaching this as a hobby and as a business?
Very simple, because people think it's a gambling, and they actually take it as gambling. Well, if there are structured way of doing it, then it is not a gambling. People expect it to be giving money like a business, but they execute it like gambling. Every place has rules. Even the road safety has rules. You go out, take your car out onto the main road, there are rules. You're supposed to drive on one side of the road and overtake from the other side, right? So there are rules everywhere. You're in a flight, there are protocols, rules that the pilot has to follow.
Exactly.
Right? So there are protocols and rules airline has to follow, so on and so forth. So where are the rules for the trading? So I've created those set of rules.
Amazing.
If
So
you
what
follow
are-
that, it will work. It works like charm.
Yeah, what are rule number 1, 2, and 3 that you want to tell to our audience on trading options?
I'd go by what I've learned from Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. First, be very clear about the direction. I have rules by which I can identify the direction which is fairly accurate. Number 2, decide how much to invest. What is it that you would like to invest in one trade? Typically, they say that you should not stake more than 10% of your overall trading capital in one trade at a time.
Wow.
For the simple reason that if you already made 10 portions of your capital, and you're deploying not more than one portion, that means 10% is the max loss you can lose in your capital. Of that 10%, we have defined 50% as the stop loss. So even if the trade goes against us, what your loss is only 5%.
Wow.
Right? Now, if it goes in our favor, so that 10% can become 20%, 25%, 30%. So if 200% win, You actually added another 10%. So in one trade, you actually took your trading capital from 100% to 110%.
Wow.
Amazing. Without risking too much. Limiting the risk, maximizing the returns.
Amazing. Okay, those principles really makes a lot of sense. So, what was your happiest, the most emotional moment when it comes to your career as a trader, right? If you want to recall one moment, either for your family that you were able to buy them something, or what was that most emotional moment that you're really proud of?
Look, in my career, just like everybody else, when you work for an organization, you are given some laptop to work on, right?
Mm.
And even in my last organization where I worked at a pretty senior position, I was given one of the latest laptops. But that was a company laptop. My laptop, I'd never been able to purchase my own laptop. I had, but they were not good enough. And with this, I was able to generate 80,000 rupees from a capital of 1 lakh rupees in a matter of 10 days.
Wow.
And it's documented. I have an invoice I can show you of same 85,000 rupees I generated, I bought a laptop.
Wow.
And that was the higher version of the best laptop I've ever worked on.
Wow.
That was a big high for me that I can afford my own high quality laptop.
This is the example of trading money for more money,
Yeah.
and just getting a laptop in just a matter of 10 days
10
by
days.
just doing this trading.
10 days.
Amazing. So, if somebody is financially struggling, they are broke right now, what would be the first step they need to take to come out of their rut?
I think the first step is to first understand that this is not gambling. There is a system to be followed. One has to learn few things and implement it step by step and scale it up with time. So you don't, just because somebody enrolls in an engineering program, that doesn't mean that they are guaranteed of a job. It takes 4 years of hard work, learning, understanding, going through examination, and then becoming good enough for the organizations to come and interview you and then offer you some fairly decent job. It's a step-by-step process. What people don't understand, that success is not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Wow.
Success is a process. You follow the process, the results are bound to come. This is what I've heard MS Dhoni say. This is what I've heard Manu Bhaker say. I believe in the process.
So, your motto is when the why is clear, the when and how will take care of itself. Can you explain that to us? What happened to your life?
Yeah, why is clear. That means, people come and they wish they were successful. Those are the people who are not serious. They only wish. So when I expect them to invest some time to understand the basics or follow the rules that I explain very clearly, they don't want to understand that. Those people will not be able to make it because their why is not clear. But someone comes to me and say, I am surrendering to the process. You tell me what is to be done. You tell me how it has to be done. I will follow the process, and I love that kind of a person because that person is teachable. He or she has decided to learn. When they decide to learn, there is no way they will not learn. They will learn. Each person has a different learning phase, learning curve. So somebody may learn in 3 months, somebody may learn in 6 months, but eventually people learn, and once they have figured out the process, it's very simple, and they can not only trade stock markets, they can buy portfolio stocks for themselves. The process remains same. They can trade equity, they can trade currency, commodity, anything.
Wow.
The process remains same. It's all about how to define when to enter a trade.
That gives a complete clarity on why we should focus on the why. So let us start the rapid fire. What's one trading rule you never break?
Never lose capital unnecessarily.
Wow.
Protect your capital.
If you could give your younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
Learn before getting in.
Wow. What is the biggest misconception people have about trading?
That it is easy and everybody can make tons of money.
Describe your trading strategy in one word.
Think and implement from the left brain.
Wow. So, if success had a theme song, what would yours be?
Theme song. It's a final countdown.
Wow. So, I love that song. And we are coming down to the final countdown of this podcast as well, guys. And today we had a wonderful conversation, a lot of insights. Make sure that you are learning all the principles, all the tactics from Rituraaj. And you can find his social media channels, YouTube channels below this interview. And you will be able to connect with him. And I wish all of you here can find your why and find your when and what with Rituraaj. Thank you for watching this podcast. Looking forward to see you in the next. Till then, bye-bye.
Thank you.